Welcome back to UNX Fast Forward, your daily dose of everything ninja. I'm Christy Ganji.
And I'm Ethan Swanson. And this past weekend, we hit our first ever UNX major event, which means athletes have earned their first set of season points towards making the championship event on February 15th.
And on the men's side of things, some strong performances. In first place, Daniel Gill with a time of 2:01 finishing the course. In second, we had Jake Murray, and rounding out our top three was Drew Dreschel.
And on the women's side, we had these youth athletes breaking out. First place goes to our youngest competitor, 13 years old, Kylie Hughes. And second place right behind her, Elena Bohr, 15 years old. Barclay Stopget taking that third place spot on the podium, and those three earning a lot of points and a great start to the season.
Yeah, and so yesterday we took a look at our athletes who competed, but today we're looking at big moments, ninja killers, looking at the obstacles. We only had 7 finishers out of 56 runs at the major.
Brutal, absolutely brutal. And I mean, on the women's side, we only had 7% completion rate out of all of the runs over the weekend, and then also on the men's side, 18% completion rate. Those are two really, really difficult courses.
Yeah, the courses were extremely difficult, not a lot of finishes, no finishes on either side in the semifinals. And so we're going to go ahead and look at some of the ninja killers, and we're going to start with the loaded ropes.
These ninja killers, but the loaded ropes was crazy, actually. There was such a technical move from the ring to the rope and stopping your sideways swing, but it took out a lot of women in the semifinals. 50% of the falls in the semis were due to this obstacle.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with that obstacle is what you just said, is when you go from the ring to the rope, you have to use all your core strength to stop any side-to-side momentum so that you could line yourself up to make that trapeze catch.
And another thing is that with these major events, we have the best of the best. So we're creating, even the second, third, fourth obstacles, they're not gimmies. None of them are gimmies. And so I think athletes are a little used to going to competitions that, anybody can go compete. So it kind of ramps up. And for the most elite athletes, it really doesn't get super difficult until they're past the halfway mark.
Yeah, and I think another thing with isolation is, I don't know if athletes expected the amount of pump that they got from the second obstacle straight into the wall walker, straight into the loaded ropes. It's a lot that you're doing, and so I just don't know if they kind of expected that, not seeing anybody else compete.
We didn't give them a lot of balance obstacles to kind of regenerate their arms. It was upper body, upper body, upper body, all the way through. Once the second obstacle start, all the way through the finish. But yeah, the loaded ropes was definitely a big ninja killer on the women's side. And another one was put a ring on it. And that was the big deciding factor for placement.
Yeah, I mean, put 2 rings on it, because you had to get around both rings, had to come around the side.
Great point. You put 1 ring on it, and that's not good enough.
1 ring's not going to cut it on this obstacle. You had to get those rings, and they had to be even. If you got one on before the other, you were going to fly off that thing. Such a technical obstacle.
Yep, 40% of all falls in the entire weekend of the women's course were due to put a ring on it, and 100% of the falls in the second round of the finals were put a ring on it, which is crazy. These two obstacles we're looking at, over 70% fail rate between both of them combined.
Yeah, and I think, loaded ropes was definitely a burner on your grip, but put a ring on it is, on the other side of the spectrum, just so technical.
Very technical. When we set it up to test it, I failed it my first 3 tries. I only got it my 4th try, which means if I only had 3 runs, I wouldn't have cleared the course.
You definitely would not have cleared the course.
But I mean, that just goes to show the difficulty of the courses that we're setting up. And then we had 2 women break through.
Yeah, I mean, we had Kylie Hughes and Elena Bohr back to back, which was really cool to see, break through the course, finish, and I don't know what it was, but they just dialed in that put a ring on it, and they just looked so solid on when they got it.
Yep, and not just on the women's side, we had some ninja killers on the men's side, first of which, the flying doors.
Flying doors, a creative obstacle, and, when you catch the doors, not only are you coming in with a lot of speed.
Coming in hot.
You're coming in hot, you gotta grab on both sides, and then there's this very tiny lip when you try to make your way around, and we definitely saw athletes struggle with that.
Yep, what I liked was Michael Torres, every time he launched that first door, he caught so high, giving himself so much room for his feet. And I saw a lot of athletes, when they'd hit it, their feet would drop out, their hips, they'd kind of slam into the door and barely hang on. I'm like, oh, God.
I still have a bruise on my shin from testing that obstacle.
But it was so difficult, and especially, like you said, I think people underestimated the first set of obstacles. Getting to that point is actually pumps you out a little more than you expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw on the men's side of things, I mean, they were flying to that obstacle, moving so fast and not really giving themselves a chance to breathe. And, it just burns your grip so much moving that quick. And we saw a lot of guys just jump into that obstacle without any rest.
Definitely. And it's a long time to get through that obstacle, especially your first time through, and then sets you up with our second ninja killer, the rodeo ropes.
Rodeo ropes, and coming off of the flying doors, so much grip strength there, holding onto a vertical grip, having to throw those ropes, and then not only are you throwing the ropes, but every time you transfer to a new set of ropes, you have to release your grip on the first set of ropes and then re-catch on the second one, which just burns your grip so much more.
Well, not only that, but also the more you get burned, the harder it is to open your hands and have dexterity in your grabs. So opening them up and grabbing quickly on something really that difficult, that late in the course, really, really hard to do. But that obstacle took out 43% of athletes across competition, 50% of athletes in the semis, 50% of athletes in the second round of the finals. I mean, it was a killer throughout the entire competition.
Yeah, and if you were wondering how hard that obstacle is, I want you to go back and watch Michael Torres and the face that he makes when he is just fighting. He is fighting. You can see him fighting so hard on that obstacle, and it is so just taxing on your grip.
I think that was the toughest thing about these two ninja killers, the flying doors and the rodeo ropes, is they were long obstacles. So you might be thinking, I feel good enough, I think I can get through it, and then you get halfway through, and there's nothing you can do. You have to keep moving. Some other obstacles you can I can make some aggressive moves and get done with this fast, but these two, very, very difficult to do that.
Very tough. But now, let's go ahead and take a look at our big time moments from this major.
Yes. And first one I want to talk about was Brittany Durant. I mean, this is one of my favorite things about Ninja, is she gets onto the wall walker and trying to make her way up to that rope and misses it time after time after time. And to be completely honest, I was watching it just my heart sank. It was she's done. That's it. And then she got it, and she kept going through the course. It was amazing. It was so cool to watch.
Yeah, so hard to watch this over and over again, missing it. And when she finally got it, I mean, you could tell her grip was taxed at that point, but so much props for not just kind of giving up, keep fighting for it, and ended up making it.
Right. And then another women's athlete, Maggie Owen, put a ring on it, and in one of her runs, she just barely got her ring over. She nicked the end and just slid it in and barely caught on, and it was so close, a margin of maybe a millimeter.
Yeah, it was really close. Ended up not making the second transfer to finish the course, but yeah, definitely a huge catch there.
Mm-hmm. And another younger athlete on the women's side, Elena Bohr. This was so crazy because she was on the rope monkey, and every single time her feet kept cutting off the rope, and she would just have to pull up core, legs, everything to get her feet back up every single time. And I kept thinking, yeah, she might get through this obstacle, but she's done. And then she finishes the course.
Yes, just unbelievable. Every time coming off, you're burning. You got to get your feet back on. You're using your core. There's so much going on there, and then to be the second finisher, big time moment.
Big time
But then,
moment.
huge time moment. I'm going even bigger than big. Josiah Pitbull losing his shoe on the first obstacle when he made it over the agility steps. Shoe goes flying, and now he's got to run the course without a shoe. And you got the flying doors coming up, and he gave it a good effort.
He did. He gave it a great effort. And I think my favorite thing about it was the shoe popped off, and he didn't even look back. He's, don't care. I just keep running. It's a Jamie Ron moment, losing his shoe and just got to keep going no matter what.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, it got him into the finals because he made it fast enough to the doors where it pushed him to the next round. And so, in my head, I was thinking, just take a second, put your shoe back on. You got the flying doors later. Mm-hmm. But, his strategy, get to the doors fast, and he just went for it, and it got him to the finals.
Right, and then the confidence factor, I just tried this without a shoe. With a shoe, next time I got it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then also talking about Caleb Bergstrom linking the entire section of the second and third obstacles. Just as soon as he went off that first set of range, just boom, 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 and off.
Yeah, I've tried this a couple times since then, haven't gotten it. I mean, so much strength, so much power to actually link every single one of those, and the technique involved is just amazing.
Not only just the technique and the skill, which has to be up there big time, but also the confidence to do that in a competition when it counts, when it matters most, and that early in a course where, if you mess it up,
You're done. That's it.
There's no way you're going to make it into the next round.
Yeah, but every time, I mean, he felt good and just went for the next one.
Yep. And then this so special, have to talk about Jake Murray, the only athlete the entire weekend to hit 2 buzzers. Granted, Kylie Hughes and Daniel Gill have to talk about they didn't get a chance to run their second time, but Jake was the only athlete to hit 2 buzzers the entire weekend.
Yeah, I mean, these courses were not easy. We saw so many fails on the course and just so much, areas where there were really difficult spots. And Jake Murray pushed through, finished both of his finals runs, and it ended up getting him that second place spot. He jumped from 4th place in the first round of the finals into 2nd place in the second round.
Yeah, very impressive taking that podium spot then with his last run and changed up the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then now I want to go in our biggest moments, our UNX top 4, starting off with Barclay Stopget in her first round finals run. She was blazing so fast, and typically we'd see athletes get off of the loaded rope and the cannonballs and take a second. Not Barclay. She just went right into on the edge, and I couldn't help but think like, oh no, you're gonna burn out. And she didn't. She knows herself. She knows she's so strong, and just the confidence to just blaze through without stopping. Big time.
So fast. I mean, she blazed through that course. But then our other top 4 moment, Kylie Hughes, 13 years old, being our first finisher and taking that first place spot in the major on the women's side. I mean, how do you top that? It's amazing.
I don't know. I mean, I got chills right now just thinking about how that moment went off in the event, because that was the first buzzer for any UNX major ever. And so of the entire day, semis, finals, whatever, she was the first one to hit a buzzer. There were tears. Her mom came out. And
that was the big moment.
Yeah.
Her mom comes out, gives her a big hug, the smoke's going off. That was an incredible moment, especially like you said, the first buzzer of a UNX major event. So
right. Kylie Hughes just continues to break through.
She can't not break through.
I know, but then also I have to say Daniel Gill in our UNX top 4 moments, almost breaking 2 minutes on the men's course. Holy freaking cow.
Yeah, 2:01. Missed it by 1 second. You know he wanted that 1 second. Maybe he should have just ran a little faster to the buzzer, but so unbelievable. I mean, Drew Dreschel held the top spot. At that time, it was 2:25. Daniel Gill comes in, just didn't rest at all, and just kind of blazed through that course.
Just blazed through. And then we got to bring back. And that rounds out our UNX top 4. You guys are going to be able to vote on Instagram on which one of these top 4 will win and go to next week and battle up against our moments from center court. But so, I mean, I also want to go into an obstacle highlight. And I think my favorite obstacle from this entire weekend has to be Put a Ring on It. That one was so much fun to watch, and it was so difficult technically, but let's see some of the action from Put a Ring on It.
Load them evenly and then trust it. And she does. This is the first time. Oh.
Time to put a ring on it.
Oh.
Not
One
quite.
extra swing. Oh, no, her hips bumped the bar. Yes! All right, it's a little uneven. Keep it straight, girl. Keep it straight. Oh, no. Oh, no. Need to finish the obstacle. We have another. We have another. Our second to last competitor.
Oh, and one more transfer right here.
Oh my gosh! Let's go! She sees it in her own face. Don't get too crazy. Focus here, focus. You can wobble off of that. She's done it! Get there, girl, get there! And rise up, young gun! Rise up!
Gosh, Put a Ring on It. So technical, so amazing. I mean, we saw so many athletes attempt this obstacle, not a lot of success. And,
crushing souls out there.
Just crushing souls. It was so one of my favorite obstacles, something that definitely I haven't seen before in a competition. And it came from a misunderstanding, actually, between Ethan and I, but we'll talk about that on another Fast Forward.
Right, and that brings us to, there are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that you guys didn't get to see in the UNX Major. And Chris and I, setting up and running this major event, we want to share that with you. So next on UNX Fast Forward, we're going to talk about, leading up to the competition, course design, behind the scenes, what our thoughts were, and so tune in next time. Until then, I'm Ethan Swanson.
And I'm Chris Ganji, and we'll see you guys next time.